Greetings, music lovers. I'm Ace, and you're tuned in to For the Rotation, the podcast where DJ stories become the soundtrack to your success. In each episode, we'll embark on a journey through DJ stories that transcend music, weaving through the highs, the lows, and the transformative power of resilience. Join me as we explore the rhythm of accomplishment, turning obstacles into opportunities as we learn how my guests did it all for the rotation. Welcome to For the Rotation. I'm Ace. I have a very special guest with me. They're always special, but this guy's extremely special because I've been trying to get him on this show for about a year now. Let me introduce to you OG Rod G.
What's good, Ace? How we doing?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on, bro.
My pleasure, man. And thank you for doing this. And, I'm sure a lot of people are going to walk away with a lot of really great information and be inspired by your story. And let's just jump right into it, man. Why don't you share with me how you fell in love with music, man? And when did that start?
Man, I mean, like anybody else, you fall in love with music as a kid, before you can talk, before you can walk, you're listening to a sound and a beat, and as a kid growing up in my household, it was about funk and old school and soul, and music that I love and enjoy playing now and listening to and stuff. So even the influences into other genres like hip hop and things like that were all influenced by those genres that I grew up to. So my love for music started from, singing and playing records with my dad on vinyl, so
right on.
Definitely as a kid,
Yeah. Your parents always collected records or had records around?
Man, for the longest, I can remember my dad just having like reel-to-reel, like 1-inch reels and record album. He was a collector, so I can remember at one point he probably had about 10,000 records.
No way.
Just as a kid, that's a candy store, Oh, look at this record. Well, this is cool. What's this record over here with a girl with honey all over her? Oh man, the Ohio Players. Like so it was definitely real intriguing and fun to grow up in a household like that. So
yeah. So you coming from a family of music enthusiasts and also having like being exposed to records around you all the time. Did you have a turntable at the house?
Yeah, my dad has his turntable and his little mixer, and he had a microphone. He would sing, and we would sing, and it was like karaoke before karaoke. We would sit there on a Sunday and play records and just have a good time, in the music room.
So you had access to two turntables in the mixer at that time, or no?
It was just one, so it was just one turntable with the mixer to for the microphone really mainly, but I had access to it since early on.
That's unbelievable. So like when did your hands first touch a turntable that you used to play music for yourself?
I was a kid. My very first record, I remember my mom for my birthday. One of my favorite movies as a kid was Beat Street.
Okay.
And so there was, Beat Street, you had Melly Mel, they had their single and it was on 45. And my mom bought me the record, and I remember being so excited and to be able to put it on the turntable and just put the needle down and just play it over and over and over and over again, So that was probably the very first time I can really recall playing something for myself that was mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. So where did the beginning of that journey take you? And like, what was your next step from like the beginning of that part of your life where you had that first record, put it down, and what was the next event that like led you to? For me, probably a lot of kids during that time that was kind of falling for that breaking lifestyle and hip hop and rapping and listening to Curtis Blow and the Fat Boys and Run DMC. That era, that generation really sparked an interest because it was new. That was new for me, right? Okay.
That was new for the world.
Yeah. And
listening to that music really influenced me in the breakdancing world, and then eventually I want to be a rapper. Like everybody else, in the 80s. And so of course you and your friends sit there and you try to rap, and then you figure out I'm not a rapper. I can't rap, But we tried, you tried to try to write a couple things here and there, and but the influence of the music became something that was born out of hip hop for me. Okay. That was influenced by these sounds that hip hop was sampling that I recognized, which is probably why I really got really intrigued with the hip hop side of it was because they're sampling everything I already knew.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So then, oh wow, that's amazing. So like, because of the history of like being around so much music as a young kid, right, and then seeing hip hop grow, right, your mind was intrigued about that sound, right, which probably what you're sharing with me like led you to like playing music on a turntable and like actually being a DJ, right?
I mean, to be honest, I never really fathomed the idea of being a DJ behind the turntables.
Got it.
And you'll probably be surprised, but I didn't really start DJing until like 4 years ago.
No
Like
way.
really start DJing.
Okay.
Putting records down, learning the process, learning how to mix, blend, doing all that. That wasn't until like 4 years ago when pandemic hit. Before that, I was working within the music industry and doing stuff around it. And part of it was because of just the way my lifestyle was growing up in LA around the music, and it just kind of led me to that route, So DJing didn't really become part of my lifestyle as a DJ myself until about 4 years ago.
What a great lead into now my questions about your career, because so let's just go back to your love for music, that record that you played, and then and then you trying to rap, beat like break dancing, and like so like what was your first step towards a career within music then? Was it like out in high school? Was it in
Man, I was a late bloomer with all of it. I was, like any other kid growing up in the hood or in a neighborhood. My parents, my mom specifically, you have to be a lawyer or a doctor, or you have to, you have to be a school teacher, like a job that's really, has a great reputation as far as a career, right?
right, security?
Security, right? So my mom was worried about that. So not understanding the hip hop world, and the music side of it, wasn't really the path, right?
Okay.
So I never really even indulged in that path. I was just enjoying it as a fan, right? And so it wasn't until I was in my 30s, I would say, that I finally, led into this path of music and radio and the record labels and artists and DJing and the whole art of music really didn't fall till later on in my life. Before that, I was working in the medical field.
I was just about to ask what you were doing before that.
I was working in the medical field. I was a professional electrophysiologist, which is someone who took care of patients' electrical conduction of the heart.
Okay.
So anything, pacemakers, internal defibrillators, any kind of like stress monitoring, EKGs, any of those things. Like it was like the deeper side of it. I was able to read it all, diagnose it, give it to the doctors, and then come up with a solution for it. So that was my career before that.
Who would have known, man?
Yeah.
So share with me, man, and I'm so curious to figure this out. What led to your first job? Like how? Okay. I mean, did you meet someone at the hospital? Like how did this work out for you?
How did the transition between the medical field to the music world?
Tell me.
It's actually a funny story, man. I had a neighbor of mine that lived across in the apartment building that I was living in the valley, and he would be like, "Hey, man, I see you like playing basketball because you see me walking out with my basketball on the weekend and to go play ball at the park." And he was like, "I have a bunch of buddies, man, in the indoor gym. You just have to pay $25 a month, or per session or whatever, and then you can get in. It's a private gym. It's exclusive." Oh yeah, sounds like fun. I'd rather pay in the gym anyways,
Yeah.
And so we go there, and it's Sway, King Tech, all the record label executives, radio jocks, promotions people, everybody in the music industry in Los Angeles that was relevant to hip hop was playing basketball at this court.
The one that he invited you to.
Because he was good friends with King Tech and Prince Ice and these guys. They were like cousins and really like close family members. And he said, I was like, cool. We were cool neighbors. We would play games together every day, and then he was like, just roll with me. I'll drive. And then I ended up meeting all these dudes every Sunday playing basketball.
Wow. Okay. So now I'm curious to know, man. this is something that I'm kind of trying to connect these dots.
Yeah.
During the period of time that you shared with me that you had to be pure, like a pure passion and love for music, right? When you were growing up, and then you went towards a career of security, right, within the medical field, and then I mean during that period of time, was there like moments in your life where you like wished that you did want to work in music, or did you desire that? Was there like a desire to work in that field?
You know, being where I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. Those kinds of jobs weren't tangible
Okay.
in my mentality, right? Those weren't things like that we would. It wasn't like my neighbors or anybody else was. Kids were doing those kinds of jobs, right? Everyone was like a blue collar worker, or they were going to medical school to be a nurse or something along those lines. Nobody was like, I'm gonna be an actor, I'm gonna be a DJ, I'm gonna work in the music industry as a producer, right? Like, yeah, you had some kids that were dreamers that were trying that,
Yeah, yeah.
but it was just that they were just dreamers and no one was making it, right? I mean, now I actually one of the guys I grew up with, who's actually a big time person. Now, it took him 20 some years, but his name's Conejo. He's a rapper, a Chicano rapper, and he's super big in movies and does all kinds of stuff. And yeah, so he was able to make that dream a reality, right? But as a kid growing up in those same areas, it's like, man, there's nobody that's gonna do that. So it wasn't something that I thought was actually tangible.
Right.
So I never even thought about pursuing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So now let's go back to that court. Okay. So now you're playing basketball with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How did the conversation come up, man?
I mean, it was just regular, dudes playing ball. Like, it wasn't about like, who did what, So eventually over time you get to know each other after the game, between games, you go have lunch, you eat.
Right.
And King Tech was eventually, hey man, I have a basketball court at my house. Why don't you come up and hang out? We're gonna have some food, this, that. Man, so I was like, all right, cool. So I started becoming friends with them and stuff. And I think part of the reason why they took a liking to me was because I wasn't after what they were doing, right? I didn't have a place in that business that they were in, the world famous Wake Up Show, right?
Yeah.
I knew who these guys were, but I wasn't like, hey man, put me on, because I had no skill set in that world. You know what I mean?
Okay, got it.
I wasn't a DJ. I wasn't doing producing. I wasn't doing anything that can contribute to that world. And so I think they felt good about me not being that kind of guy. So they were always having me around. And, one day King Tech was like, hey man, you think you can help me out, man? I have like 50,000 records that I'm going to sell, all vinyl in my garage. I need to organize them. Someone's going to come by and they're going to buy them all. And I'm like, man, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not married. I have no kids, nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, whenever. Let me know. I'll come over and I'll help you out. And so we spent the whole day organizing everything, putting things to the side. And afterwards, that's a heavy load. 50,000 records for DJs.
That's a lot.
They know this is a lot of work. And so moving these things all day, he was like, man, you're like a hero, man. You just saved me so much time. Thank you for helping me. I'm getting married in Hawaii. You want to come? You're invited. And I was like, I've never been to Hawaii, man, for sure. I go, you can stay with my cousin in one of their rooms, and you'll be all right. Just come through. And then that kind of just developed this relationship, and we would go to the gym together. And King Tech was like, hey man, why don't you, work in the industry with us or something? I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I have no idea how this works. He's like, don't even worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. And so little by little, King Tech would be like, hey, can you do me a favor? I'll be working at UCLA. That's where I was working. Can you go to LAX and pick up Bun B? Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, can you go pick up RZA? Or, he was asking me to do things like that. And then he'll be like, hey, can you research? We're trying to figure out how to duplicate CDs in a machine. And so I started researching. I found a place in the Bay. And so he was giving me little tasks, little by little, right? And next thing you know, they're getting honored for an award in Puerto Rico at the Radio Music Summit, a Mixed Power Summit that they would have every year. This was like a big event that they'd have every year for all the record labels, would bring out all the new up and coming artists. They would invite all the radio DJs and then put them all in one place for a whole weekend, and they would enjoy, each other's company, get to learn the music, get to learn the artists, and build relationships and network. And so they were being honored with like a lifetime achievement award or something. And so they asked me to come with them, and so I went with them. And in that one weekend, I made so many friends that were radio DJs. I'm talking about like from Power 106 to KMEL to radio stations all up and down California.
Wow.
I mean, everywhere, right? And we became like legit homies. And King Tech was like, "Hey, man, we're trying to get this new artist. We're trying to work on this, that. You think you can help us?" Like, "Yeah, I got you." And then, as a matter of fact, I know these dudes. Let me call them up real quick. And the artist at the time was Sly Boogie, and I was able to get like 100 BDS spins on radio, and everybody was like, "How did you do that?" I was like, "Oh, all the dudes that I met in Puerto Rico for the Power Mixed Power Summit,
Oh, wow.
they hooked me up. They're playing it for me. I got Rafiki playing it. I got Reflex playing it. I got this person, that person playing for
Wow.
it." And then it was like, "Oh wow, you do have a skill set. You just didn't know about it. It's just you being you and connecting dots." And so that's kind of how I transitioned into that world of the music industry.
Unbelievable. So what was your position?
It wasn't a position. It was just like a glorified intern, right? I mean, to be honest, that's what it was. It wasn't like, there wasn't any money involved. It was like a love for it, right? It was like, "Yeah, I got you. Oh, you know what? We're going to take Sly Boogie on a radio run across California, and I'm going to drive in my Tahoe, and he's going to ride shotgun, and we're going to go station to station, and he's going to meet all the DJs and get on the mic." And we did that, and we would go all up and down California and hit up all the major radio stations and get airplay and interviews. And so I was driving that, so kind of like a tour manager, radio manager,
Were you
an
still
A&R.
were you still working
Yeah, I still had a regular job.
Wow. Okay, so like I'm connecting the dots. So let me put some words to this, because this is a phenomenal story. I don't think I've ever heard any a one like a story like this, right? You played basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you have in common, right? And then you were networking, right, without really knowing that you were networking, which led you to be liked, right, because you're a likable person. And then you never said no when opportunities arose. And you're open to trying new things, right, which led you to something that you were passionate about, right, from the very beginning, right? Okay, so let's just keep going, man. This is really interesting because I don't think I've ever heard a story unfold like this. So now you're kind of like this. You're doing all this, right? You said a glorified intern. Okay, so what else? Is there any more to this story? Like, what led? I mean, are you still with them today, or?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I was just on the phone with King Tech right before we met up this morning, a little while ago. And so, yeah, I mean, I owe them a lot in my entire career, I mean, so I work in television currently, right?
Now you're in television.
I work in television. I've been in television film since 2003.
Wow.
Because King Tech would be like, I was going to college and I was getting my major in Chicano studies and all this and that. And King Tech was like, "You're already Chicano. Like, what do you got to get a degree in that for?" He's like, "You know what we need? I'm going to give you a camera. Why don't you document all the wake up show stuff? And why don't you go to college? I mean, you're already in college. Why don't you start taking like video production classes and things like that? And, you could do all that, like actually give me something to do." All right. And so I was like, "All right, cool. I'll take a class here and there." I graduated community college. I went to Cal State LA. They had a radio broadcasting program. I was like, "You're perfect. I'm going to do that." I'm already doing the music stuff with them. And then that ended up becoming a television film program, and they erased the radio broadcasting. So that led me to editing, video production, shooting with cameras and audio. And that led me to that whole world. And so I used all that to document everything you've seen on the Wake Up Show. So pretty much all the old footage you've ever seen
Yes.
was me either shooting it or editing it.
That is
And
insane.
so that's how I got
man.
into that. And so,
You know how legendary that footage is?
believe me, people tell me all the time, it's like, I'm a historian when it comes to it because I've documented so much,
I mean, that's like the beginning of a lot of people's careers, man.
100%.
I mean, and like no one, like, oh my gosh, like, wow.
Yeah,
like we're talking about Biggie Smalls, Eminem, like.
You talk about a lot of stuff, and like some of that footage was before me, but I still had to touch some of that footage to package it and do different things editing wise and get it out,
But at the same time, it's kind of like I'm really loving your story because it's like there's like a very, very like underlying hidden like meaning behind this. And then I mean, okay, this also reminds me of a word called resilience, man. because I mean, even though you did have the day job, right, and you're being thrown all this other opportunity and responsibilities, and you're telling me you also went to back to community college to take more courses, right?
In my 30s.
Right, in your 30s,
Yeah.
right? It's almost like reinventing and reinventing yourself all over again, but still pushing towards something else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of resilience. So, I mean, can you share with me like what does resilience mean to you, and how do you channel that?
See, I don't think about it. That's the thing, right? So I don't think about resilience. I don't think about channeling it. I'm from a cloth of like we just do, like if it's something you love to do, you just do it, right? It's like if you're gonna go buy a nice new car, the first thing you do is I'm just gonna keep it clean all the time. I'm gonna wax it. I'm gonna always have it gassed up. You take pride in it. You always take pride. So it's for me, that's what it's like. It's like me buying a new car, right? So whatever it is, like I take pride in what I'm doing because I really want to do it. If I don't like it, then I won't do it, right? Like there's no point to it. Like, and part of my career changes because of that. It wasn't that I didn't like the medical field. It's just I didn't like the expectations of me being responsible for so many people's lives and me knowing how I am. If someone says I'm sick, I can be like, I'm sorry, I'm at a basketball game. I can't help you out. Like for me, that doesn't. I got sorry to the basketball game, and I got to go help, right? And so it might be selfish, but I know like I want to have a lifestyle that I want to enjoy, and man, that's why I honor so many physicians and people in the medical field because they give up their lifestyle for everyone else's
Right.
life, right?
Right.
So I wasn't ready to do that because I haven't enjoyed life at all. And so
Wow.
that's kind of the reason why I needed a career change. I just didn't know what it was until I met Sway in Tech.
So you knew that you needed a career change.
Yeah.
Ah, there it is. Okay. That's like I think maybe that's a part of the manifestation of this story, which is that I didn't really ask before, which actually is I find very intriguing. It's like something inside of you wanted that, and it found you,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, man. I mean,
It's a beautiful story. And so, like, let's just so now you learn video editing, you
Yep.
learn all this stuff, right? How did the television industry find you?
Again, Sway and King Tech.
Gosh, what
So-
great people, man.
So Sway works for MTV back then.
Right.
He's a on-air personality. He works in production. They're working on shows. And so one of his good friends, her name is Sherry Skorka, was doing a Rock the Bell shoot that they were having here in LA. And it was like they're reuniting like the Wu-Tang Clan for the first time. Everyone was going to be on stage. And so Sway told Sherry that, hey, my guy in LA, he's already going to have full access. He's in video school. He's editing. Take him with you and let him, be your guy. And so I was the point person for that whole thing for her. And me and Sherry developed a relationship, and she became a big time executive eventually. And every job I've had was like working with her pretty much, whether it was NBC, whether it was Warner Brothers,
Oh, wow.
doesn't matter. Like I always ended up somewhere where she was at. So that connection was through Sway. And I kept those relationships going. And that's what drove my career in television film. It was because of the seed that Sway planted with her. And then I just took it upon myself to really do something I enjoy and maximize my career by doing it, so.
Wow. That's awesome. Like, cause I'm hearing something behind what you're sharing with me. And I think what really resonates is that you show up. And when you show up, right, you do the work at your full capacity. And that's really why you've gotten where you're at and why people actually put it down for you in the past, right? Like, and I mean, it's all you because it's your work ethic, right? And at the end of the day, it's kind of like because of who you are, this is who I'm talking to now. And I find it fascinating how things have just kind of unfolded for you.
Yeah.
Or do you ever look back and think about it like, whoa, what the hell happened?
I mean, I think about it sometimes and I'm like, wow, like my career, from my wife to my kids to my career, I owe all to hip hop.
Sick.
It's weird, right? But it's not. I really genuinely owe all that. My career was because of hip hop, like Sway and King Tech. My wife I met because DJ Revolution, the DJ for the Wake Up Show,
Yeah.
his wife and my wife were sisters. I met her through them,
Oh wow.
right? And so now I have a family with kids and everything, and so that's because of hip hop too,
Right.
right? I mean, it's hip hop really is the reason why my entire life is the way it is.
Wow.
And I would have never known that as a kid, but that's what ended up driving everything where I'm at now, including where I'm at to DJing.
Wow. Okay, so now let's take a couple of steps forward. Now, why DJing, man? What took you now? Like, I mean, am I missing any steps between them? No.
I mean,
So what's the what has led to this now?
I mean, the DJing part, man, I've always loved that art form. Like documenting all those years of the Wake Up Show meant documenting the most unbelievable DJs in the world.
Absolutely.
Jazzy Jeff, Qbert, the Scratch Pickles, the Beat Junkies, DJ Revolution, DJ Shadow, Cut Chemist, I mean, Newmark, the Executioners Rock. I mean, I've documented, I mean, their hands, their turntablism at a high level. All your DJs' favorite DJs, I've documented and I've got to know and talk to them over the years of being on the Wake Up Show. That I was so intrigued and fascinated by it. Plus, you're playing records, you're playing music, you know, it's fun, you know, so it's always been fun for me. And I knew I always wanted to do it, but I was intimidated because I knew the caliber of DJs that I would want to be like.
Yeah.
I knew I could never be like because they put 20 something years of experience behind something that I don't have. I'm at an older age, right? So that was my mentality going into it, right? And then the pandemic hit.
Okay.
And in my heart, in my mind, I foreseen that we would be locked up for 2 years. So everyone was like, oh, we'll be back to work in a week. I was like, pack your bags. We're going to be home for a year, maybe two. This is a worldwide pandemic. There's no way they're clearing this up in 2 months.
Okay.
Right? So in my head, I was like, I just can't be home doing nothing. I need to do something. And my dad had given me all his records that he had collected.
No way.
And so I had all the records already, and I had bought myself some turntables and a mixer because this is how it's supposed to be done, because this is what I've seen. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was playing records, and I have video. I was seeing it, and of me playing records and just enjoying playing the music, not DJing, just dropping records like I did as a kid. And during pandemic, my brother Revolution was like, I told him, I was like, man, I can never be a DJ. He's like, why not? Like, what else are you doing? Just do it. Like, whatever. You got me. Like, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool, you know. And so I started doing it little by little. And then I started, I wanted to hold myself accountable.
Yep.
And so I started streaming on Twitch.
Oh, wow. Talk about put on the pressure, bro.
That's why I was like, you know what? If I do it live in front of people, it'll force me to try to get better. Because if I do it by myself in my studio, I'm just going to be lazy and just do whatever, right?
That takes some guts, dude.
So I started doing it, and wow, my DJ life changed.
No way. No, it's become a part of you, right?
It's the reason why I'm sitting like here. It's the reason why I'm, you know, having events and DJing and to have my brother Revolution introduce me to people as, oh, this is my brother-in-law, Rod G, he's a DJ. And I'm like, I don't look at it as my brother-in-law. I'm like, DJ Revolution called me a DJ.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, I'm like, man, maybe I do have something going on. You know, if I have, I don't know, whatever many thousands of people following me and people watching me every day.
Yeah.
And people telling me, you're one of my favorite DJs, Rod G. And I'm like, really? Really? And they're like, yeah, you're one of my favorite DJs. And so I'm like, well, maybe there is something to it. So now I started building my confidence.
Yeah.
And so now I'm starting to do it and have fun with it. And now I'm trying to get to that level where, like, okay, let me keep pushing myself now. Let me take it up to, I'm never going to be Revolution, but I know I can play a record now and a party and have a good time with confidence.
It's amazing, man. And now you stream every day?
Yeah, pretty much every day. I mean, I've been pretty loyal to my fans, or to my followers, not my fans, but my followers, for 4 years. I mean, I haven't really stopped.
That's awesome, man. So now, like, has it become a part of your career? Like DJing, you get paid to do it now.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. You know, I do get paid. I have a big show in May that I do. So it'd be my 4th year, which is wild because it started when I started doing the DJing. But it's definitely, beneficial. I get to make money off of streaming. I stream on TikTok as well.
Yeah,
At the same time, I make money there. So yeah, definitely another source of income.
that's amazing, man. What a story of change and adaptation, man, and just constantly evolving. And just, I mean, I don't. There's like a fearless mentality that's required in order to accomplish what you've accomplished, and then along with that, like like always seeing something and just moving towards something that you really don't know where it's going to lead you. But that's huge, man. And like I commend you for that, and thank you for sharing that story, man. So I have a question for you. This really important question. And I think there's going to be a really good answer that comes out of that. Thinking back to all the things that you've learned throughout your career, right? And if you're facing your younger self, right, what would you tell your younger self today, right, on how to get to where you're at now?
Man, if I knew everything I knew now, back then, I would have started all this way earlier. I wouldn't have feared some of it. I wouldn't have been so undecisive about what I wanted to do. And I would have told myself, like, look, I know safety and work and job and career and stuff is something that was, taught to me by my mom, my dad. But I would have told myself, look, man, you can do whatever you want. Like, if you enjoy something, run with it. Like, oh, you love hip hop and breakdancing and all that. Like, go ahead, do it. Figure out a path. I definitely would have told myself to not be afraid to hold back on some of those things because my biggest thing is, the failure of it and not doing it and just doing a job I don't want to do. Right. That was one of the things that kind of slowed me down from anything creative in that world, which is why I didn't think it was tangible. And so I would have told myself, man, like, you know what? You can do it. I did it already.
Wow, how inspiring, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's huge. I think a lot of people can walk away with that advice you just shared and apply it to their own. So thank you so much. So please share with everybody who's watching, how can they find you, man?
Man, I mean, the easiest thing, I guess, is my website, ogrodg, rodgee.com. And everything is there. You can learn about me. My bio is in there. I have music that I've done in there. I have, my work that I've done in television film is in there. My resume is in there. Photos. I mean, you can learn a lot about me. Just go on my website. But then, like all the typical places between social media, like Instagram at Rodg, TikTok at Rodg, Twitch is at OG those are the main places that I'm, mainly on. But yeah, if you just hit any of those spots, and I'm there.
Thanks, man. I mean, I encourage everybody to go check them out, man. Unbelievable story. It's like I was not expecting that. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I thought that we were going to talk about DJing, but or like you leading into just all of this with DJing. But damn, this is awesome. Like, thank you for that, man.
No, I appreciate you, man. It's weird. I'm an introvert in person.
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert behind the camera.
Uh
Like I have to turn it on, And I learned that from RZA. When you hang out with artists normally,
yeah.
then they're themselves. They're not the artist.
I got
Right?
it. Yeah.
And when the cameras are on, the mics are on, and then you become the artist. The sunglasses come on, right? You become the artist. So I learned that from him in King Tech, and so usually in person I'm pretty quiet. I'm chill. I'm relaxed, but when I have to turn it on, I turn it on. I know how to do it now, so I can do it with more confidence and stuff. So, yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me, man.
No, absolutely.
What
man.
an inspirational story, and I appreciate you. All right, check out OG Rodg, man. Unbelievable. Check out his website. He's doing a lot. So, yes. Until next time, man. Thank you, my man. Appreciate you. Thank you for tuning into For the Rotation. If you found inspiration in today's episode, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Please visit fortherotation.com to view more episodes and support our podcast by purchasing some cool merch. You can also find us on all social media channels at For the Rotation to engage with our community of dream chasers. Until next week, keep the inspiration flowing and your dream alive, and return to learn how we do it all for the rotation.